circle. It's just a little easier to hold that space, like a container. So we're not going to do anything scary, okay? But I am going to walk you through a few exercises that are going to get you in touch with, the ultimate goal is to get you in touch with some old limiting beliefs that are no longer serving you. And we talked a lot about these things last night of what interferes with your self-care, what keeps you in a pattern where you're taking care of everybody else and you lose track of yourself. And oftentimes I'll look at those things as sort of sabotage mechanisms. Like we try to make commitments with ourselves, we want to do good by ourselves, and then we let ourselves down. So those become sort of these sabotage mechanisms. And those are typically fueled by these old beliefs. So we'll be kind of working through a few hypnosis exercises that will help you sort of bypass some of that conscious stuff that gets in the way and be able to tap into and identify some of those subconscious beliefs. And then we're going to transform those, and I'll give you some tools to do that. So also, I didn't mention this last night, but also in my practice, I do hypnotherapy. So I'm a marriage and family therapist, and then I also do hypnotherapy. So that's a practice that I really enjoy because it's so much more effective than talking about things. Like, we can talk about things and get far, but there's oftentimes places where people get stuck, and it's like, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I do that. And so oftentimes, if we can bypass some of that conscious thought or those coping mechanisms that protect us, then we can get more information about ourselves. So that's really the goal today, is to get some more information. And with that new information, we can create new resources for you to use, so that when you do go home and you want to activate and implement some of these self-care things that we're talking about, it maybe isn't going to be, you won't feel as much resistance. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's talk for just a minute. So if you turn to page 17, because I can't read that anymore. This is where it begins. And so the first page, we're just going to talk through this, and then the remaining pages are basically what we're going to do today, but I'm going to walk you through those. But I just wanted you to have them as resources if you want to do some of this on your own at home, because some of these exercises are things you can practice by yourself. Okay, so that's what the remaining pages are. And then, just so we kind of know where we're going, on page 20 and 21, you'll see that it says my journal. So does everybody have pens before we? Okay. So throughout the exercise, there'll be one place where we're going to write down these old beliefs and these old decisions, and I'll walk you through what that is. And then the next page after that, we're going to create these new beliefs, new decisions, and then we're going to make a resource state. And so I'll walk you through all of that, but that's where I'm going to want you to write it down. Okay. And they're on separate pages because these old beliefs and old decisions are part of what we're going to use at the fire ceremony tonight. So we really want to let go of them all the way, but we're going to let go of them most of the way now. But that'll just be another way to further release that. That'll be a piece of our fire ceremony. Okay, so let's go back to page 17, and we're just gonna, and you can just kind of walk through this with me. So I call this kind of breaking through, turning the sabotage into support, because ultimately, once we have beliefs and decisions that support us, then that's what empowers you to be able to make more conscious decisions in your life and to live the life that you really want to live. Self-care is a big part of that, and a lot of times when I say we talk about self-care, and we didn't necessarily identify this yet in the retreat, it's interesting, nobody has said that yet. But maybe you all believe enough that self-care is important. But most people think self-care is selfish. If I take time out for myself, I'm not taking care of other people. then, and you may have people in your life who call you selfish if you're not doing something for them, because they might be very used to you doing things for them, you know, and they rely on you for those things. And if you're not there, then something's wrong, which means they have to take care of themselves. And oftentimes, if we're the people who help all the time, we don't necessarily empower the people in our life to take care of themselves. We feel needed, it's nice to be wanted, we feel good when we help, we know we're being helpful, but we're not always necessarily helping people be accountable for themselves, right? And it diminishes, it drains you over time if you're not filling yourself back up. You don't have a balance. So self-care is not selfish, it is responsible. If you are not taking care of yourself, you are not being responsible. Which again, to helpers and people who want to do the right thing, we want to be responsible. But if we are walking around with our cups empty and we're giving and giving and giving, ultimately we're going to break down. And then somebody else has to take care of us, right? When we could have done something for ourselves about that. So it's responsible. So I really want you to anchor in that this is your responsibility, is to take care of yourself. Take time out for yourself. Implement these self-care practices. Do whatever you need to do to nurture yourself and fill yourself back up. It's responsible. So the beliefs that drive that self-neglect, okay, so that's the opposite of the self-care. Tell me some of the beliefs that you think you have already about that. Like, what do you believe would happen if you weren't helping everybody? Either what would they think, what would happen?
They would think something's wrong with me.
They would think something's wrong with you?
Yes.
Okay. Would you believe something's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Well, it would probably feel awkward if I wasn't doing those
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
So, and if you weren't doing them, then what might that mean about you?
Selfish.
I'm spending too much time on myself.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Because I can't think of anything else right now.
Okay. Anything else come to anybody off the top of their head?
You might lose your purpose.
Right. What's my purpose if I'm not helping everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mine's control.
Okay. So if I'm not helping everybody, what might happen?
Worlds will fold.
The whole world goes to shit, right?
My world. Yeah.
Your world might. Okay. Yeah, so we feel like we're maintaining everything, and then we feel like, okay, everything's good. Like, I've got a handle on it all. But then we want to reality test that a little bit, right? Because what's happening to you over time, as Wendy shared yesterday, right? When we go beyond those limits and we don't do anything to restore it. That's the key, right? It's not that we have to stop helping people. We just have to go give from the overflow, as we talked about this morning, rather than just give, and hope and wish somebody just recognizes that we need help, or maybe we need to be taken care of sometimes, and we just hope somebody figures that out. And we might resent our partner or our family members because they never notice.
Mm-hmm.
But how would they notice if we never let them know, right? They're just gonna be like, oh, they can handle everything. They're so dependable. Oh, I can always count on so-and-so. She always says yes, you know? So I think those are the things I want you to start to become aware of shifting your perspective about that, right? Because we get a lot of reinforcement in our culture for that. So it would be difficult to think, maybe I need to balance that out or step back a little bit. And it can feel like you're not being good. You know, you're not doing the right thing. So I just want you to start to kind of shift that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, so I don't really identify with like I'm just giving, but I feel like I'm really strong on self-care,
Mhm.
but my distorted thought is sort of more about like when I am giving, like when is enough, you know, like am I giving enough, you know, so so I'm just saying that everybody might not have the same
That's true.
thought, and so I'm not somebody who has that experience, which I just have so much, admiration for you, Wendy. But that isn't something I'm experiencing, at least not now.
Well, that's a good thing, Linda.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't know
But
that
I'm
I would
just-
be admiring Wendy,
But
but
I still, you are an inspiration. But it's still a distorted thought in that I don't really know when I have given or helped somebody, like, well, it really wasn't enough, or I could have done more, or
Sure.
was that enough? Or,
you question that. You
Yes,
question
so
yourself.
That's what
Yeah.
would be my weird
Mm-hmm.
thought.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Actually, I mean, I've had the thing where I help someone and they're like, I don't want your help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crushing. That is really crushing.
Yeah, it can be.
Oh, yeah, it's just like a killer to the self-esteem and it's like,
Yeah, and that's a fine line, right? Of if we haven't been invited to help,
right.
but we think that they might need it, right? And which is a loving, lovely thought, but oftentimes when we step in and we haven't been invited, then we are compromising somebody else's. I lost my word. We do it with parenting all the time. Yeah, when you undermine their ability to do it themselves without realizing it, right? That's not our intention, but that is ultimately what happens, because the actual message that's given there is that you can't do it. You
Yeah,
must need help.
Robs their power.
It does. And it's not coming from that place, but ultimately that is what's happening, right? Versus, would you like my help? Or do you got it? Or do you need some help with that? Or would you like feedback for that? Or if you need something, let me know. I'm right here, So you let them ask, which would be in reverse also. If you're needing help, you have to ask rather than hope somebody recognizes it for you, right? Okay. Okay, so looking at some of those things so for you guys, because you're all here on a self-care weekend, what gets in the way of your self-care? Now, Linda she's got her self-care down, which honestly, that is great, right? So you might help people recognize how you got there, right? Because I'm sure that happened over time. But what gets in the way of your self-care? Because that was a lot of what was shared last night, that many of you do struggle with that.
Overwhelmed with work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, stuff's gotta get done.
Right.
So put that first, and then the day gets away from you, it's like, okay, there went that idea,
Right. Another day. Another day. Yeah. What gets in the way of your self-care?
Work.
Yeah. Oftentimes we prioritize things that seem more important, or culturally are put in a higher value.
And then when work is done, you go home, and if you're taking care of other family members, like right now, my mother, father, who's 91, who lives with me,
Mm-hmm.
and then a grandchild that we pick up 3 days a week. I sometimes say I did my time, but I feel guilty if I say no to picking up that little person. And
Yeah.
my husband makes dinner, he has everything, he helps, but I don't really take it
Right.
sometimes, because that word control, I feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
So you guys are
9
getting
o'clock
to
at
some
night,
things. Mm-hmm.
and you're ready for bed, because you're solving all these home health aid for this one in Connecticut, and trying to answer questions to a 91-year-old that's asked you the same thing 10 times,
Right.
and then you're angry because you really don't like him right now. Why am I kind of stuck with you?
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Sure. Resentment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we're empty and it seems as though there's no room.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So many times these patterns, these thought patterns, right, that become these beliefs that drive your behavior, most of the time, they're rooted somewhere in your childhood. That's where most of our beliefs come from. They get established at that time based on our experiences and how we observed our environment growing up. So from our child mind, how we made sense of the way the adults were around us become our core beliefs. And so they are made from a child mind. Like clearly as adults now, we can look back and probably understand some of why things happened. Maybe there's still things we don't understand why they happened, but we can kind of see from an adult place, okay, well maybe they were doing the best they could with what they had. They didn't know, they weren't trying to harm us, but but nevertheless, those child beliefs, the beliefs from that child mind still remain and tend to be what drives your behavior today. So they served you at one time because they helped you make sense of your environment, and they maybe protected you or helped you survive or helped you cope with your family dynamic, whatever it might have been. So it served you at one time, but it's no longer serving you now. Because now you are an adult, you have access to all sorts of resources and knowledge, right? Versus if you're 5, you don't know how to do the world. But we forget this, we don't make this transition a lot of times. So we're still operating out of those child beliefs and we haven't transitioned that. So we're wondering, why are we stuck in these old patterns? Why are we still doing this? This doesn't even make sense anymore to me. But we haven't made that shift internally. So that's kind of what we're going to work on today.
Can I ask an annoying question?
Of course, you can ask whatever question.
Why don't we make that shift? Why do we get stuck in that 5-year-old pattern?
Well,
do you think, or what is the?
Because
I'm a psychology major, so I'm like, why?
So that is an unconscious. It becomes rooted into your subconscious, unconscious mind, right? Where you're just surviving, you're just doing, you're doing. And then your life and then either you'll get reinforced for those things or you'll keep getting in trouble for those things. I mean, sometimes they are never serving you, but you don't know any other way to be. And you adapt your life around that. And so in the growing up phase, it just kind of becomes part of your personality. So it ends up being incorporated into you until you maybe go through something in your life that wakes you up to say, I can't keep doing this anymore. So we either get sick, we have a divorce, we have an accident, we lose a job, we keep getting stuck, we're trying to set goals, we're not, or we get exhausted, whatever it might be. And then you want to start to look at that. So the desire to want to become more conscious of how you operate in the world. So that might bring you to therapy. It might bring you to a retreat like this. It might bring you to explore and research some different ways of being. And sometimes the awareness isn't enough because that unconscious belief is still, we haven't dislodged it. So when we do work with the subconscious, it allows us to kind of create more awareness of that, to bring that into the light. So another word that we use a lot of times for these old patterns are that shadow part of yourself, the part that kind of exists like your blind spot, the part that you might not even see about yourself. Your friends and your family might see, but you don't necessarily have awareness of that until it becomes something that is presented to you, or you have a consequence that makes you really feel like, I gotta look at this. Does that kind of make sense? Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay. So this paragraph here of, when you continue to operate out of your beliefs and decisions that interfere with your growth, they'll keep you stuck in your old dysfunctional patterns. And when we're doing that, it often limits your joy, your peace, abundance. It gets in the way of your life. And you might wonder why you're struggling in your relationships, or maybe you're not taking care of yourself the way you think you should be, or the way you would like to. You try to start something, except then it fails, or it falls by the wayside. You keep trying the same idea over and over again, and then it goes away, you know. And you might get stuck in perfectionism of, it's not good enough, so I can't move it forward. Or I've tried, but it's not really where I want it to be, and so never mind. And we stay stuck in that space. And that becomes that self-sabotage that I'm talking about, that keeps you from doing being where you want to be in your life. Okay, so today, what we're gonna do is, if you think of it like cleaning out a closet, okay? So you got a closet full of a bunch of stuff you don't need anymore. Or you've been wearing these same clothes and they never looked right on you, but you kept wearing them because this is all you had. Well, it's time to get rid of those things. So that's kind of what we're gonna do in these exercises that I'm gonna walk you through, so that you can release some of these blocks, and maybe some of these things, goals that you've had for yourself, things you want to start implementing in your life, including your self-care practices, become more effortless and less of a struggle. That's my hope for you, okay? So you can put your things aside, keep your, well, actually turn it to the journal. Just turn your packet to that first journal page. Page 20, yes, is that what it is? Okay, yes, 20. And just keep that open next to you with your pen, and then just put it to the side, okay? And then I just want you to get comfortable. Now, you can sit or lay down during this. I don't really care, whatever's the most comfortable for you. We're gonna have our eyes closed, and it'll be kind of like a meditation. But at some point, I'll have you write something down on the page. So if you can do that laying down and roll over and write, that's fine with me. So whatever is comfortable for you guys. So just get into a comfortable position. And then would you mind putting the music on, Krista? Okay. And I'm just gonna walk you through this. So we're just gonna take a few moments to relax. I want you to close your eyes. And just take a really deep breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth. Can everybody hear me okay?
Speak a little bit louder.
Okay, I can speak a little bit louder, yes. So another deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And as we talked about before, I really want you to breathe into your belly here. So as you inhale, let your belly expand. And as you exhale, let your belly contract. And just find your own pace, taking a nice deep breath in. Maybe hold it at the top for a moment. And then release it all the way out. And just allow your body to begin to relax. And just continuing that breath in and out, feeling your body becoming heavier on your mat. And just feeling a wave of relaxation from your head all the way down through your toes. So if your knees are bent or straight, either way, whatever's most comfortable for you. But just imagine that breath flowing from the top of your head all the way out through the bottoms of your feet. So as you breathe in, breathe that breath in through the top of your head. Imagine pulling it from the sky, pulling it right down in through the top of your head. And then as you exhale, breathe it all the way out through the bottoms of your feet. And as that breath moves through your body, just feel it relaxing more and more. And just feeling your body heavy on the mat, feeling supported by the earth beneath you. And just allow yourself to imagine now, just bring into your mind's eye a place in nature that's relaxing and comfortable and safe for you. And just imagine yourself there. So it might be at the beach, or in the mountains, or in a forest, or a lake. Whatever place is most comfortable for you, your favorite place. And just begin to use all your senses to be there. Just notice the colors, the textures, the smells, the sounds, and any familiar feelings that you have in this beautiful, relaxing place in nature. And just allow yourself to take in the scenery there. Where are you sitting? What's surrounding you? Allowing yourself to feel safe and comfortable in this space. And really notice here as you relax here in this space that you are in your adult self. This is the part of you that is able to make healthy decisions for you, sees all the choices available to you, knows possibilities are endless. And to further connect with that part, you might even imagine a time in your life when you made a really healthy decision for yourself, or you felt really empowered, or you know you made a good decision. And just imagine that time in your life. Let that come into your mind's eye for a moment. And when that time comes to you, really step into that part of yourself that was able to resource and access that healthy decision. And know that that part of you exists and is here to help you and to remind you that you have infinite choices. And that any time you feel locked in those old patterns, you have this part of you to access to make healthy choices for you. So really breathe in that part of yourself, that strength, that power, and just know that that is here for you. And so as you are sitting in this beautiful, relaxing, safe place in nature, embodying your adult self, feeling your power, absorbing the energy of the earth and that support, I want you to imagine a child version of you walking towards you. And just notice how old she is, what she looks like, what she's wearing, and anything else that you notice about her. And she's walking towards you. And so just hold out your hand and invite her to come and join you in this beautiful, relaxing space. And just allow her to connect with you in whatever way feels comfortable. She might curl up in your lap. She might sit down next to you. Maybe she continues to run around in the field or the forest, but you're connected. And just know that you're both safe to explore whatever comes up today, and that what you're exploring is here for your growth and healing and expanding your ability to love and connect with yourself. You are a whole being, not separate, even though it may feel that way sometimes. So this is an exercise in integration and in working together with this child part of you and this adult part of you and bringing them together as one whole being. So also here in this space with you and your little girl, I want you to connect with a spiritual connection. So whatever you call that or envision that as, it may be the nature that you're sitting in. Maybe there's God or a religious master teacher that you connect with. Maybe it's the light. Maybe it's consciousness or the universe. Whatever that is for you, just breathe that energy in to surround you here in this beautiful space, to further support you, and to know that you have access to much more consciousness and possibilities than you alone can create. So breathe in that support. Feel that energy surrounding you and your little girl. And recognizing that it's okay to become conscious of these things that may be hiding in the shadows. It's okay and safe to expand into the life that you want and deserve. So as you remain here in this safe, relaxing place, I just want you to bring to mind now this desire that you have to take care of yourself, or even questions that you have about how to help others. Wherever you get stuck in that process, I want you to bring that to mind. And maybe a part of you that wants to implement healthy habits for yourself, or support yourself in a new way. Just allow some excuses or reasons why that doesn't happen to just come into your mind. What are some of the reasons or excuses you've given yourself for not following through? For trying to implement something and then letting it fall by the wayside? What gets in your way? And as you begin to contemplate that, just notice any feelings that arise. You might feel sadness or fear, maybe shame or guilt. Maybe you feel lonely or angry or resentful, frustrated. Just allow those feelings to come up to the surface and begin to just notice where you sense those in your body. So you may not be able to name the feeling, but you can name a sensation in your body. Maybe you're feeling it in your stomach or your chest or your throat. Just notice where you're sensing that. So imagine a place now or a circumstance in your life where you get stuck. You want to do something, you want to implement something, and you just get stuck. You want something to be different, and it just never seems to change. Or you procrastinate. Or you think it's not good enough. Or you want to hide it from others. Just bring that up for yourself. Either a fear around that, or a place in your life where you get stuck, something doesn't work. And then imagine a situation that's related to that. Just bring that situation to mind. Maybe it's with a coworker, your partner, children, friends. Let that situation come to you. And allow the feelings with that situation to come up as well. And as you're imagining the situation playing out, I want you to tune into your self-talk. What kind of things do you say to yourself about yourself? So when you're in this situation and these circumstances are happening, what do you believe about yourself? You might ask, because these things are happening, because I'm stuck, because I'm struggling, whatever it might be, that means what about me? It means I must be what? If I'm experiencing this, or I'm constantly stuck in this space, then I must be what? And just allow whatever comes to you to come without censorship. Just notice what that is. It might be a few things, it might be one phrase. When these things happen, when I'm stuck in this space, I'm what? I'm useless. I'm invisible. I'm not good enough. I'm too good. Just notice what comes to you. And don't talk yourself out of it. Just notice without judgment. And then you might also notice, what do you do then? So if you notice that you believe that you're invisible, then you might choose to stay in the background. You might choose to always be the helper. You might choose to avoid conflict at all costs. Or if you believe that you're not good enough, you might try to be so good, helping everybody, being good at everything, getting lots of praise for your achievements. So just notice, and also notice the feelings that come up as you begin to identify these things. What are you feeling? What are you feeling in your body? And so without losing track too much of where you are, I do want you to gently open your eyes, just enough to access your journal page. And I want you to just write down what has come to you so far. Just take a few minutes to do that. And it doesn't matter if you fill the lines incorrectly, so just use what I provided there to write down what you came up with. So the old beliefs and decisions in whatever order they come in.
Okay.
Don't pay attention to that.
What is
Just
it?
take a
Don't
deep
pay
breath
attention to
and
the
let it
man
out.
behind the corner.
Right, that's right. So stay with yourself. And when you feel complete with that, just put your page to the side so I know that you're complete.
It's okay.
I'm just gonna breathe. So just continue to breathe and stay connected to yourself. We're actually gonna sit up for this next piece. So when you're ready and feel comfortable, just go ahead and come to a seated position. Yeah, go ahead. And the good news is, if you didn't identify everything right now, you're going to have plenty of opportunities to find more later. And sometimes they may even sneak up on you out in your life when you return. So the goal for today is to walk you through a few of these exercises to, when they do come up, to move them forward. So even if you don't have everything that you feel, you haven't covered all the bases today, that's okay. If you have something that we can work with, then that you'll definitely be getting something out of it. so I'll give you a couple more minutes. Maybe 1 more minute to just sort of finish up where you're at. Okay, so where we're going to move next is I want to teach you, many of you have probably heard about a technique called EMDR. Has anybody ever heard of that? EMDR. We're not doing that today, but this is sort of what is kind of based in some of what we're going to talk about. So a concept behind EMDR is this bilateral stimulation, where we're able to stimulate both hemispheres of the brain, and it helps to move. You're testing me, Chris.
You tell yourself.
What is happening? You guys are powerful. Let's just say we created some powerful energy. Wow. I don't know what is it. Just leave it down. It's fine. I don't care. Yeah,
It's normal.
it's okay. Is this bothering you guys? We're gonna. Okay.
But go back to explaining it, though. You were right in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's okay. I can find my way.
I'm interested.
Okay.
Alright, so what did you call it again?
Bilateral stimulation. Okay, which is basically just stimulating both hemispheres of the brain. But in doing so, we can interrupt old pathways and begin to create new pathways. So if you've heard of neuroplasticity, which is basically this research that's been done that we can change the pathways in our brain. It's not hardwired, it's plastic. So we can change the direction of things. So in the situation of these old belief patterns, you're not stuck in those forever. We can change them. It does require practice, right? So it requires awareness and then practice to when the old belief comes up, we shift to the new belief. The old belief comes up, we shift. So it's just like meditation in that sense, right? Of titrating in and out of the thoughts. The thoughts come up, we release the thoughts. So the thoughts aren't going to go away. We don't never have thoughts, right? We just learn how to manage them in a different way. So same in that these old beliefs or those old experiences and belief patterns aren't going to go away, but we may be able to create a new pathway that you can then access, which becomes what we're talking about a lot here, which is that then you have a choice. I can go down the old pathway or I can go down a new pathway, but we have to create the new path. So we do that by identifying what the old ones are, and then we implement a new path. So what I want to do right now is if we think about, okay, so we've identified some old beliefs and decisions. So and some feelings that came up around that. Did everybody have some kind of feeling that came to them? Okay. Was it a positive feeling or no? Kind of like, can you throw out some feelings?
Butterflies.
Butterflies, which would be fear, sadness.
Sweeping problems under the rug.
Okay, sweeping problems under the rug, which might be connected to what feeling?
Sadness.
Okay.
Anger.
Sadness, anger, shame, right?
Shame.
I don't want to see those. I don't like that I have those. Okay, so that's great. So you've got some feelings. So what I want to do is shift you from that space to a new space, and then we're going to transform your old beliefs, okay? So we're going to do this with an exercise that is a bilateral stimulation exercise, okay? So what I'm going to do is direct you and give you some eye movement signals, and we're going to practice that. And so, but before we do it, I want you to connect with the feelings that you just brought up. So if it was sadness or butterflies, I want you to connect to where that is in your body and just let that be present for you. Keep your eyes open for a minute, okay? And I want you to just look at a spot on the ceiling. while you bring up those feelings. Register them in your body, notice where they are. If you can name them, even if you can name it, bring it down to a feeling word. But if not, that's okay, the experience is fine. And just find that spot on the ceiling and keep your gaze there. So you want your gaze to be sort of up above eye level, so wherever that is for you. And just hold that gaze, keep your eyes open, keep your head still, and just breathe as you find that spot on the ceiling. Noticing what's going on in your body, noticing that that feeling is there. And then keeping your head still and where it is, I want you to look up to the left and up to the right. And then up to the left and up to the right. Up to the left, up to the right. Up to the left, up to the right. And keep going. Just allowing your eyes to shift back and forth into the upper corners. Just begin to notice those feelings diminishing. A few more times, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. And now you're going to look up, all the way up, and down to the floor. Keep your head still. Eyes look up and look down. Look up, look down. Good. And just notice what's happening in your body as you're doing this. Continue to look up and down, keeping aware of the feelings in your body, even as they're diminishing. Looking up and down, keeping your head still, just moving with your eyes and noticing what's happening in your body. And continuing to keep your head still, begin to move your eyes into a figure 8 position, figure 8 motion. So just tracing an 8 in front of you, and noticing your eyes moving along that infinity symbol. And then allow yourself to switch directions on the infinity symbol. So going the other way, figure 8. Continuing to be aware of how your body is feeling, noticing what's happening, noticing your feelings diminishing, focusing on that figure 8, and then allow yourself to just look straight ahead and bring your focus and awareness back into your body, into a place that you can focus on in front of you. And just notice how you're feeling in this moment. Where's the feeling now from 0 to 10? 0 being no feeling, 10 being lots of feelings. What do you notice? And then just release that exercise and tell me what you did, what you found out. What happened?
I feel dissipated.
Good.
Because I wasn't thinking about it.
Wasn't focusing on all these other things. Did anybody else notice that? Or you might not have. It's okay.
So I have a lot of experience. I do EMDR.
Uh-huh.
So don't, don't compare yourself to me because I know how to do this. So, so I went back to like a childhood feeling that wasn't good, you know, related to family. And I tried to stay there and do the infinity. And so my eyes, you know, started to kind of, you know, twitter a little bit. And so eventually I felt more distance from the feeling. So it was sort of like, I could know that that was a feeling, but I wasn't having that feeling.
Right. You weren't embedded in the experience
So
anymore.
that's sort of how it should work, but I did feel like it was. So my way of working is a little more traditional.
Right.
You know, Shapiro kind of
Mhm.
EMDR. So, but worked totally the same. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. And any other experiences?
Couldn't remember it. Couldn't feel it at all afterwards.
You
'cause I
couldn't
was so
remember it.
concentrated.
Right. It seems so simple and kind of weird. I know it did for me when I first started doing it. It's like, this is it? Like,
Well,
what?
they used to think it was a bogus, you know,
Yeah.
procedure, until they figured out this bilateral stimulation was a neurological
It actually is a thing,
process.
right?
Yeah.
It actually is a thing. It's not that EMDR is not new at all, but some of the research that's supporting it is
Exactly.
more new. And so even like with the hypnotherapy that I learned, we didn't do bilateral stimulation with that. It was kind of a different process. But I'm finding it a more gentler practice, right? Where, okay, that's not so scary, instead of regression work where we're having to, you know, emote all over the place, which isn't terrible either, you know, but not for everybody. So, anybody else notice anything? How are you feeling? Tired? I'm not gonna make you do it again, so. I just wanted you to have the experience and notice that that's a way to shift things, right? And so it does feel a little bit like there's a little shift in here, okay? So maybe not so heavy. So that's gonna move us into this next part, which is a little more fun, okay? So we had to identify those things, they're not as fun. But I want you to know, and I have this exercise in here for you. So if you want to practice with that, it's a great way to extinguish those old beliefs. So, like I said before, they don't necessarily go away forever. They may sneak up on you. You might be in a different place where you're like, oh, I thought I had this figured out. I thought I had this already. I didn't think I had to keep dealing with this. It's here again. Okay, well, you can bring this exercise into your awareness and just allow yourself to do that. There's other ways to do that too. Like some people, some therapists suggest like a ball. You have a tennis ball, and you pass it back and forth between your hands. Every time the thought comes up, you pass it back and forth like 20 times between your hands, right? So it's just a way to interrupt your brain pattern and redirect you somewhere else where then you can make a different choice. So it's fascinating and something just to kind of work and play with. But you have some of these tools, and so you can take them and practice them at home and, you know, see what you come up with. And I'm going to give you a couple more as we go. Okay, any questions about that? Or like weird concerns or anything? No? Okay. All right, so now, and we're moving through this somewhat fast, okay, but I want you to just have the experience, like I said. So now what we want to do is I want you to take your page that you wrote all the stuff down on and go to the other page, which is the new beliefs and decisions. And so we want to go through this exercise, and we can talk this through as you're writing if you want, or if you want to come up to me individually while we're doing the writing part. You can if you want me to help you walk you through it. But what we want to do is take the old beliefs and turn them into a new affirmation. Okay, so to create an affirmative statement that is true about you. Because here's the thing, those old beliefs that we think about ourselves are not true. They're not true. They're coping mechanisms that we created to survive a situation, and they are not true about the essence and the core of who you are. which when we were talking earlier today about that higher self, or that part of you that you connect to, that's able to observe the monkey mind in your meditations, that's your true self. That comes from something much bigger than your human mind, okay? So, and when you're born, if you think about a baby that's born, they're pure. They're good enough. They're beautiful. They're perfect, you know, not in a perfectionistic way. They just are. They don't need to explain themselves. They don't need to be justified in the world. They don't need a reason for being here. They're just here, and it's enough. That's the truth about you. So the affirmative statements want to reflect more like that. So they're I statements. They always start with I am something. And it's a present statement. So it's not a future statement like I will be enough. I am enough. Okay? Or I'd like to try to be better. Just I am. So that's the part that most of the time when I'm working with people, we have to clarify that, right? So whatever comes to you first is great, but then we want to eliminate all those clarifying words, like no will, can, be, do, none of that. Okay? So take a look at your beliefs, and it doesn't have to be like the opposite of the first belief, right? So it just, if it's like not good enough, I am good enough. It doesn't have to be that. I want you to be creative. It can be that. That's absolutely fine. But if something else comes to you that feels more true, I want you to write that down. So just kind of work with that. And same with the decisions. So if there's behaviors that you identified that you tend to do, you might create a different behavior, which would be more of what I tend to say is a new choice, right? So instead of taking care of everybody else, I choose to allow other people to be responsible for themselves. So again, if you have questions, ask me, or you can come up to me personally, whichever way you feel comfortable. But let's take, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes or so and just see what you can come up with. And again, as you come up with these affirmative statements, if you say them to yourself, I want it to be able to elicit a feeling of maybe relief, or feeling like you're in your power, like you just stand up straighter when you say that. It's like, oh yeah, like that. Yes, you know, that's true. Even if you have trouble believing it right now in this moment, okay? It's something you're gonna practice and you're gonna step into and you're gonna embody. And it becomes what living your truth feels like, or looks like. Standing in your truth with a capital T. And if you get stuck or you want me to work with you on anything, you can also call me over to you if you want, just if you don't want to get up and come here.
My experience is, and this happens lots of times, like when I'm going to sleep or when I'm trying to relax, my teeth, they do like that. I can't stand that. And in my studies, I have learned somewhere, I don't remember where, that teeth have to do with decision making. And I also have an ancestral thing with teeth. It runs in my family. My teeth don't develop properly in utero, so the enamel is very thin. So, I don't know if this is right or not. I'm sure there's some rightness to it. But under old decisions, because teeth have, I just have this clue that teeth have to do with decision. My teeth change on their own, and then a new decision would be I control myself just fine. Does that make any sense at all? I'm wondering if you might say something like, my body operates as it needs to, or this page. Yeah, because are you controlling your teeth? No, that's I don't feel like I am. It just happens. So do you want to release the worry about it? I want it to not happen. So how about I choose to set decisions on my own? Like when I choose to relax my palm, then my mouth hangs out. And I don't want either one. I want to help the rigidness to my jaw. You know? You know what I mean? Because I can feel it how I either go forward. There's no in between. Control the temporary, that's what I'm struggling with. Oh, you don't like control. Okay. My body moves in is balanced, meaning like it's not overly relaxed, it's not overly tight. No jaw tension. Or just my body. I would just say that. Or my jaw is in balance. I sleep with balance. I don't know, something like that. I sleep in balance, in perfect balance. I sleep in perfect balance, something like that, where it's in between. Because just fine is also like, that's not, that's sort of like that fear of a little bit more of an abundant statement, like really stating what you want it to be. Making something like that. And sleep. Balance with perfect balance. Do I need an adjective? I can just say balance. Yeah, you can say balance. Balance. Yeah, but you know what that means, right? Does that make sense? Okay. This is good. All right, thank you.
Okay, everybody good? All right. Okay. How was that?
Hard.
hard. Sometimes it is hard, right? You're like, I don't know. It's that same thing, like when we don't talk good about ourselves very much sometimes, right? Okay. Would anybody be willing to share one of their affirmations? Would you like to share?
I don't know if this is gonna be right, but I just wrote one.
That is okay.
I will set boundaries so we can have a healthy relationship.
Okay. Can I help you a little bit with that?
Yes.
Okay. Or I should say, would you like some help with
Yes,
that?
I
Would you be
would.
willing to
Yes, I
accept help from me? Okay.
Yes.
So I would take out the will.
Okay.
So you said, I will have healthy boundaries. What did you say?
I said I will set boundaries so our relationship is healthy.
Okay. So just take out the will.
Okay.
I set boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and
And
have a healthy relationship with my
Okay.
husband or with my whoever that is.
Yep.
Whoever the we is.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy a healthy relationship or something like that. So that's an active statement that is happening now. Whether you're actually doing it or not, doesn't matter. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so say that again.
Okay. I set boundaries and have healthy relationships.
Does that
I-
feel true when you say it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I enjoy, I think you gave me another one, I enjoy healthy relationships.
Yeah, you can put as many fun words in there as you want. Happy, healthy relationships,
As long as it's
whatever.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to say it one more time with feeling.
Okay. I set boundaries and have healthy relationships. I enjoy healthy relationships.
Okay, say it one more time.
I set boundaries and have healthy relationships. I enjoy healthy relationships.
Yes. Okay, you hear that?
Yes.
So you hear the difference, right? Versus the qualifying one of like,
Yeah, that
you know,
I
it's
do
like
a little-
wishy-washy, right? That's what we do because it's hard for us to stand and claim that. But what I really want you to notice is the power that comes with stating something that feels true for you. Like, yes, even though I don't necessarily know how to do that today, but that is what I want, yes. And then we know what we're working towards,
Yes.
right? And you're making a statement that is true about you. And then you begin to step into that, right? When we claim that for ourselves. So we're reclaiming our power.
Yes.
Okay, versus I never set healthy boundaries. I'm always being, all over the place, and I don't have a self anymore, and whatever other things happen with those things, right? And my relationship's a mess, and yeah, that's a lot of us. But that's a lot of people I see. I have a skewed population I work with. Like we're all struggling, right?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else want to share?
Well, I struggled with coming up with like the new belief, but I came up with like the new decisions. Can you help me
Yep.
come up with what the belief would be? I guess,
Sure.
I don't know. I know we talk a lot, so.
It's okay. What'd you come up
But
with?
because I was trying to do the I choose.
Yeah, sure.
Statement. So I just said I choose to take time for myself, and I choose to step back and not engage with behavior that makes me question my integrity and self-worth.
Yes, ma'am.
Aren't you proud
Okay.
of me?
That, I am so proud of you. Okay, so the belief that might be in there is about questioning your self-worth, right?
Okay.
Like if I tend to question my self-worth, what does that mean about me? That I believe what about myself?
Well, we've kind of talked about like the fact that I always try to struggle to be perfect and make sure everything
Right.
is done.
So if I'm not perfect, then I'm what?
What did she say?
Flawed.
I'm flawed, I'm not worthy, I'm invaluable, I don't know.
Okay.
So I want you to breathe and close your eyes and see what comes to you. If I'm not perfect and I'm not doing everything else for everybody, I must be what? And if you close your eyes and breathe, notice what comes to you. That's the belief. You can do that right now if you want, or you can do that later. Okay. But that's the process, right? Of, okay, because it's not always obvious, right? Does that kind of make sense?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. And again, it's unconscious. So sometimes it's like, is that really there? Or am I making that up? You know? So that's why I want you to have some more time inside yourself. So, but yeah, but through the decisions that you've come up with, you might be able to identify those beliefs. And obviously we can keep working on that too. Okay. Anybody else? I am good enough. Yes, ma'am. So simple, right? So simple. Okay.
Or I am enough. Period.
I am enough, period. That's right. That's beautiful.
I said I'm everything I need to be for myself and others.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Because old belief would be that I don't think I am.
Okay. So I'm everything I need to be for myself and others. Yeah. And it's enough, right?
Yes.
Yes.
basically.
It's plenty. Like
Yes.
whatever I'm doing is enough. Yeah. So that's good. And yeah, no, I like that. And so you might add a second line that is even more concise with that. Like, so if you are everything you need to be with everybody and everybody else, then you're what?
Well, I'll feel more satisfied, not like I need to keep doing and doing and doing, right? I've done enough.
Right.
I am enough. I don't need to, and others won't be allowed to make me feel like I wasn't.
Okay, so I am enough, period.
Yeah.
That's a full sentence.
Okay, which I had that over here.
Yeah, right? Perfect. So that covers all the bases,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, that's great. So sometimes we want to, if we're talking about an experience, then we might even go further and deeper into that to be like just a personal statement about who I am,
Mhm.
not who I am to others. So the deduction of that, right, is I'm enough.
Yeah.
So like reduce it down to the lowest common denominator. Like that's what you're doing. Okay, awesome. So what I want to do with these to kind of further anchor them in is we're going to bring our inner child back. So I'll walk you through that in a minute, but I'm going to kind of give you a heads up and then we'll kind of go into it together. So depending on, you might have 1 to a few affirmations, okay, it doesn't matter. And we're going to, again, add some movement to that to sort of further anchor these beliefs in. So we're working with the new beliefs now. So I want you to hold that page or just kind of review it. You might have it memorized. If you don't, it's okay. You can look at it. And I'm going to have you kind of go back into your imagination. And we're going to use some hand signals here to kind of compound or further enhance that anchoring in those beliefs. The way we're going to do that is by using your fingertips. So you're going to take like your first few fingers, okay? And I'll walk you through it. I'll kind of do an example with my own stuff and then we'll practice it together, okay? So what we're going to do is take, say, maybe your first few affirmations. You'll start with the first affirmation. So for me, this was from an old exercise, but so I'm healthy, happy, and strong. And I'm going to say this to myself, but I'm going to rub my forehead. I'm healthy, happy, and strong. I'm healthy, happy, and strong. I'm healthy, happy, and strong. My body knows just what to do. Down your cheeks. My body knows just what to do. My body just knows just what to do. I'm calm and I'm safe. I'm calm and I'm safe. I'm calm and I'm safe. My body is working for my highest good. My body is working for its highest good. And then I start again. Okay? So it's your forehead first. You can just do it with me. All right, you're just going to brush your forehead like 3 or 4 times while you're saying the affirmation. Then you're going to rub your cheeks. And you might go on to the next affirmation, or you can repeat the same one. just rubbing down lightly on your cheeks. Then you're going to rub from your shoulders down to your elbows, saying the next affirmation or the same one, just from the top down. And then you're just going to, like you're pushing something between your hands as you say the last affirmation or the same one again. And so it's about 3 to 5 times you're going to do that each time. And then you go through the whole thing 3 to 4 times. Does that make sense? Okay. So what I'm going to do is walk you through. I'll say, rub your forehead, rub your cheeks, rub your arms. I want you to be saying your affirmation to yourself, okay? Or you could whisper it lightly to yourself if you want to be able to speak it, but I think for the sake of our group, to just kind of say it internally. Okay? So, close your eyes. And before we begin, I want you to call your inner child back. And if you want to go back to your safe place where you were before, just imagine yourself there. And just call that little girl back to you, because we want her to be here for this. Because now you, the adult, is in charge. And you are in the appropriate space with her where she can rest with you. She does not have to be doing and driving your bus anymore. She couldn't drive in the first place. So she just gets to sit and rest, and you can sit with her however you would like. And so as you're sitting together, I want you to bring your first affirmation to mind, and then just bring your hands to this forehead and just begin to repeat that affirmation as you rub your forehead 3 to 5 times. And then move down to your cheeks, saying the next affirmation or the same one. And then to your arms, brushing down, lightly and nurturing. And then brushing your hands back and forth with the next affirmation. And back to your forehead. Brushing the forehead, repeat the first affirmation again. Then to your cheeks, the next one or the same. And your arms, taking deep breaths, exhaling out anything else you don't need, and then brushing your hands back and forth, and back to your forehead. Brushing the forehead, repeat that affirmation. And down your cheeks, repeating that affirmation. Your inner child is so happy, feeling so connected with you. And down your arms, continuing those affirmations, and brushing your hands back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Let's do it one more time. So back to the forehead, repeating those affirmations, feeling so connected with your little girl. Down your cheeks, feeling that integration happening, stepping into those new affirmations. Down your arms, and brushing those hands back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then bring your hands to your heart in prayer pose. Take a deep breath in, let it out, big sigh. Give yourself a big hug, connected to that little girl, fully integrated with your wise adult at the helm, stepping into these new beliefs and decisions, and knowing you can continue to anchor them as often as you need to, and making new ones along the way. And then release your hands and gently open your eyes and come back. That? What are you feeling? Do you feel a little more connected with yourself? Was that weird? Uncomfortable? Comfortable?
Comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want you guys to get used to being more nurturing with yourself. So when we bring that inner child into the mix,
I'm sorry, I was just sniffling.
oh yeah, it's a way to have compassion for yourself. A lot of times we don't, sometimes we have negative associations with our inner children. But to see ourselves as a child, it's oftentimes a way for us to have perspective of how we talk to ourselves. Because the part of us that we get frustrated with is childlike. And if we have children, you have a resource for that, right? Of, would I be yelling at my 3-year-old? Like, why can't you just get it together and figure it out? Like, what's wrong with you? You know, who says that? Nobody's gonna, hopefully, you don't talk to your toddlers like that, right? But we tend to talk to ourselves like that, and that's kind of the part of us that we're talking to. So if we can begin to have that connection and notice that that child can relax when an adult is in charge. And that part of you is what is driving your life, rather than the child one who is operating in all her coping mechanisms from a million years ago that don't serve her anymore. Does that make sense? Okay. There was one more technique I was going to teach you. I'm not sure if it really fits where we are now. But I'll kind of tell you about it, and we can play with it if you want, just as an added thing. It's just an extra technique that you can work with. I learned this at a conference recently from this guy who works a lot with anxiety, and I just thought it was a really clever way of dealing with that. And I think you could apply it to any feeling that you get stuck in. So he deals mostly with anxiety and fear. I think it's any obstacle, any kind of feeling obstacle or thought obstacle that you have. So it's very quick. He calls it the SD card technique. So we all know what an SD card is, right? In your phone. Well, we used to have them in the phones. Nobody had, but you have an SD card in your phone, right? Mm-hmm. I said phone, I meant camera, but you know what I mean. So that has photos or programs or old things on it, right? Things you can store and save. So if we have an old program running in our head, like these beliefs that we're talking about that really aren't serving us, well, we might want to get a new SD card, right? So this is sort of working with that imagery. So again, what I was going to use this for, which again I think we've done enough with it, but I'll just let you know where I was going with it, is if those old beliefs come back up and you notice that they're repetitive, this is another piece another tool that you could access or use to really extinguish that even further. And when I say extinguish, I mean as it comes up, it just doesn't have any power, or you just move it along. It's like, I don't need that anymore. Okay, no, on to the next thing. So if you imagine, if you had an SD card in your head, where might it be? Just imagine where you think it might be. It could be anywhere, right? For you, right? So, but like, would it be here in the temple, in your neck, whatever, right? Everybody might have a space. So I just want you to imagine that for yourself, like where that might be. And if you imagine, kind of putting your hand in that space, wherever that is, and just sort of shaking that loose. Let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. And then what you want to do with it is you're going to remove it and throw it onto the ceiling or so. Like imagine it can stick. So you're going to toss it somewhere. And again, it's sort of plucking it out and tossing it. And it's just this motion that kind of signals you to know that you need to let go of it. And then we're gonna, implement a new thing. So let me kind of, okay, so do you all have a space in your head where this might exist? Okay, so I want you to just bring your hand where it is. We're gonna shake it loose, and then you're just gonna pluck it out, but I want you to look at it and put it up above eye level. So you're just looking at it, noticing it. Okay, and then I want you to toss it onto the ceiling and imagine it sticks somewhere, and keep your eyes on that spot. Just keep your eyes on that spot, directly on that spot. Notice where it landed, what it looks like there. Keep your focus on it. And just see if you can imagine it changing, like morphing into something slightly different, maybe a different color, different shape. Just imagine. And then I want you to just shift your focus into the periphery. So to just kind of zoom out slightly of the spot on the ceiling where this is, and just notice kind of the surrounding space. But you can see a broader perspective. And then from there, just close your eyes and just imagine a new SD card that you're going to put into the old slot. And this new SD card has better programming. It's more functional, has some upgrades. It works better. And just imagine what it might be like to activate this new programming in your mind. And the new programming are your new beliefs that we were just talking about. So we've eliminated the old, these new beliefs are taking hold, and this new operating system, this new programming is being activated in your mind. And I just want you to create kind of a mental movie in your head of like what it might be like to operate from this new space. Maybe even imagine some situations where you're going to act out of these new beliefs. You're going to have boundaries. You're going to know you're enough, no matter what. You're going to only participate in things that serve you. And then when you've been really kind of noticed and taken awareness of this new way of being, just bring yourself back to the present, open your eyes. And just know that anytime these old beliefs, so along with the eye movement that we were talking about before, that's one way. If the old beliefs sort of pop up, or you find yourself like, oh, again, I said yes when I meant no, or I let somebody walk all over me, or whatever. This is another piece. You know what? No, I'm done. Out it goes. In comes the new thing. Out it goes. So sound effects, flicking motion, whatever you want to do to have fun with it. But he had an example of this girl who had a lot of anxiety, and again, he works a lot with anxiety. So when you have those fears, or you're feeling like paralyzed by something, it's like, no, I'm not. No, the fears are not taking over today. Today I'm going to be in my power. I'm going to be in my courage. I'm going to be in my strength. So there was this teenager who had lots of anxiety when she would go into her math class. And so he gave her the suggestion of, okay, before you go into the math class, I want you to take your thing and I want you to stick it on the doorway. And then you go into math. And so she practiced that, like every day she'd go, and and so she had this imagery of like all this stuff stuck on the doorway, but when she went in, she didn't have this anymore. And again, the power of our imagination is beyond, right? And that's a lot of what hypnosis is about expanding and using our imagination to create something different that creates that different option or choice. And then you practice and create those new pathways. And so, but what it is, like what you imagine it to be, how you create these affirmations and these new ways of being and believing and behaving, is limitless. You can create whatever you want, right? But it does have to feel true for you. And so when that truth of, I can do that, like I'm not limited by, if you're not limited by your fears, then what are you, right? I'm courageous. I can do anything I set my mind to doing. And we can set ourselves into that mindset, into that place. So whatever we do to trick our conscious mind, because our conscious mind is pretty smart, right? It's like, oh, I know what you're doing, so we have to sneak in through the back door sometimes, and that's where imagination comes in. So that's what some of these techniques are, right? It's like, okay, we're going to distract you a little bit, and then, we can be in a new place to make a different decision, different choice, different belief. So, any questions about any of that? Anything else you want to share? And then I'll kind of go over what we're going to use those things for later, or anything you want to share about your experience. Okay, thank you guys. And so what I want you to do is hold on to your old beliefs, and when we go to the fire circle tonight, I want you to tear it out of your journal, because we don't want to keep those. We don't need to reinforce those, right? And obviously you kind of already know them anyway. And I want those to be a part of what you release in the fire ceremony. There'll be other things that you may want to release, or you can use that piece of paper to add more things that you want to release that aren't necessarily what we were working on here, but that you want to let go of. And then we can toss those into the fire so that they can transmute into something that is more of service to you, that can be, something you can take in from spirit or the universe. Okay, but keep your new beliefs and keep adding to those. And what I want you to do with them when you go home is to write them somewhere. Either type them up, write them down, put them on your mirror, put them in your car, put them on laminate a card with them, whatever you want to do. But I want you to have access to them and repeat them multiple times so that it becomes something that you take in and becomes part of your normal understanding of yourself. But again, it requires practice. So I want you to have access to that and utilize them and add to them, as you discover more. Okay.
So, you might be able to use them sooner than that if you want to.
Oh.
So what we're gonna do is we are going to take, just